Blind Nil Audio.
Really, your crunch time to build up your body is summertime, off season. Once the season starts, it's hard, and you know, right?
Yeah.
You want to optimize your body for that game in 2 days. So,
Were there times where you noticed that your body was beat to shit?
for sure, it's a grind. And I always say this: if you only play great when your body felt great,
You got a problem.
You would play good 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Welcome to Stronger. On today's show, I'm welcoming New York Rangers legend Henrik Lundqvist. Of course, Henrik is one of the greatest goalies to ever play in the NHL, but his strength off the ice is just as inspiring. I'm Don Saladino. Let's get stronger with Henrik Lundqvist.
So I've gotten to know you on a personal level over the last few years at the Team Paris event down in Nashville. It's been great getting to know you and your family. And what's interesting is I know you outside of hockey, right? Like I was at your party after your post. What was it? Your post final game or your post
The retirement,
right?
Jersey retirement, actually.
Where I actually mistaken your brother Joel for you, and I went up to him and I'm like, Hank, great job. He's like, I'm not Hank. I'm like, you get that a lot,
You were not
right?
the only guy doing that, by the way. And by the way, when I go back to Sweden, more people say Joel to me than Henrik.
Yeah, I mean, he's a massive deal over there, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, he played there for 20 years. He was
impressive.
a captain 14 years. And for those who don't know, we're identical twins. So we kind of look the same.
yeah, you still look the same. And I didn't even have a lot of drinks
Obviously,
in me.
I'm a little better looking, but kind of the same.
And a little bit better dressed. But I went rolling in. I started having a conversation with Joel, which was pretty embarrassing. But he couldn't have been any more. I mean, you and him have a very similar temperament in that way. You're very welcoming. I mean, I don't think it's never been let on to make anyone feel like uncomfortable when you meet them. I mean, you've always been a very warm and
Yeah,
inviting.
we try to be. And obviously, we're kind of used to, having people mistake us.
yeah.
Even growing up, it happened all the time. Even teachers that we have for years would mistake us. And now going back to Sweden, he still lives in Sweden. I live in New York City. But when I go back for summer, I have so many people come up to me. And sometimes you play along because they're so,
You have to.
if they just go on a rant for 20 seconds
just gotta
talking
shut up
about
and
the
let 'em
game,
go.
you're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So you were the goalie. He was what was he? A center?
He's center, yeah.
He's the center. So how is that? I mean, that had to work out perfectly in the backyard. I mean, you guys just kind of him shooting on you all day, and you guys. Was it ever competitive though? Since it's such different positions. I mean, how?
Very competitive, but we were very supportive of each other.
Right.
Because we never competed for the same spot, right? But growing up, we did everything together. Same classes, same teams.
That had to be exciting.
At different levels, junior national team, pro team in Sweden, until I moved to New York City at 23.
So that's 20 years ago now, right?
Yeah, 2005. That's
Shit.
when I moved to New York City.
That's when I opened my club. So that's technically
Well, there
the
you
first
go.
time I opened. 2005 was the year I launched my club Drive. And that was
It was a good year for us.
better year for you. I mean, it was tough. I mean, coming into the city at that age, even though I'm a New Yorker, but getting thrown into this 15,000 square foot club, it was like a big eye opener for me. I mean, how was the transition for you coming from Europe?
I came in with a very open mind.
Hmm.
I was very established overseas. Again, playing for the national team, won couple of championships. But you move here, and it's kind of like starting over. Everybody's like, "Who are you?" We don't really care what you've done in the past overseas in Europe or in Sweden. You have to prove yourself here and now. So it was exciting, but also everything was so different. Moving from, kind of large city for Sweden, but still just 500,000 people in Gothenburg. I grew up in a ski town, very small town, but now moved to New York City. Everything was different. But I think the key was just come here with open mind and just see where life will take you. But main focus was just hockey, and that guided me so much in terms of decisions, how I prioritize certain things, because when you come here, there's a lot to do, a lot of people to meet, and a lot of fun things going on, but you got to keep your focus on the right things.
But this city, it's there's so much risk reward to it because you can show up, and we've seen a lot of athletes come into the city and they just, I remember Randy Johnson when he got traded to the New York Yankees and he got into a fight with a reporter like the first 2 days, and we're all sitting there like, oh God, here we go. This poor guy is like probably from from some area that's not New York and he's not used to the media. And a lot of athletes don't last because they can't deal with all the other temptations and all the other things going on.
Yeah, I think you have to embrace it. You can't escape it. You have to embrace the fact that it's a big market, high pressured environment. I think what helped me, again, I was a nobody, even though I was established overseas. Nobody really knew me here. And I was a rookie here. So the pressure wasn't that high.
Who was the other goalie at the time?
Kevin Weeks.
Oh, wow.
Kevin Weeks was my goalie partner. So I have to say, it's a big difference coming to New York City, any sports team, as a free agent, big star, established athlete, because the pressure is on day one. If you're a rookie, they give you a little time to get going and prove yourself, right? So I think that helped me relax a little bit. And then I just felt the support from the organization, from the fans from day one. So that helped as well.
So the organization obviously knows you're coming in from Sweden. You're 22, 23?
23, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't know like where to get an apartment. You don't know the places to go eat at. Are they like turning around? They're like handing you a packet like, here, check this out. Here's your real estate broker. Or here are the places you want to look at. Or this is a rental place for a while. Like how do they, I've never asked that.
Well, you show up at camp and then you're 6 goalies. We're 60 players. So you don't even know if you're going to make the team. That's number one.
It's nerve-wracking.
So you just do whatever you can to stay on the team. And after a few weeks, if you're still around, that's when they tell you can start looking for a place now.
Oh, wow.
But I had a really nice teammate, Darius Kasparaitis. He was a veteran. He was
an Islander at one time.
He was.
Yeah. He was cool. He was a fun player, dynamic, very like.
And such a funny guy, but a great teammate. So he actually let me and my wife, girlfriend at the time, Therese, stay with them for a few weeks before we got settled and got our own place. But there's a lot of uncertainty when you move like that, start a new chapter in your life. But wow, it's exciting. It was something you've been dreaming about for, 15 years since you were a kid.
Was New York the pinnacle? I mean, when you're overseas and you're thinking about hockey, are you thinking, is it like New York or is it like, no, we were following this team because of Lemieux or Gretzky or I don't know, like what were you thinking?
Well, as a kid, at first, until I was 10, 11, I didn't watch much NHL. Time difference, It was the middle of the night, and it was also kind of hard to watch NHL hockey. But then they started to air more games. I was a big Patrick Roy fan. And my brother, Joel, was a big Peter Forsberg fan, and they both played for Colorado.
Roy was also was he Montreal?
He started in Montreal.
Yeah.
Got traded to Colorado. So I watched them a little bit. I never really had a team. There was more players. Patrick Roy, Dominik Hasek were my two idols.
So you didn't go to an NHL game then growing up, did you?
No.
Oh, so your first NHL game was when you were playing for a team?
No, actually, first game was the year after I was drafted. I came to New York City 2001 after my draft just to look around. They showed me around, and I went to one game. And then I didn't come back until 2005 when I signed here.
What was your experience watching that? Who'd you watch? What was the first game? Was it a Ranger game?
Yeah, Rangers. I just remember Arturs Urbe. Legend goalie. He was in net for the other team. I'm going to guess it's, I might be wrong here, San Jose maybe. Anyways, last game of the season, I watched it. I met a couple of Ranger players. Didn't think much of it after that. I knew I had a lot of work to do, going back to Sweden, play for a couple more years, play more international games to prepare myself. But it was a great experience just to be here and see it and feel it.
What feedback do they give you? So you come into camp, they watch you, and they're like, I mean, I know in any sport they're going to get feedback, right? Like, listen, you're not moving laterally quick enough. You're not getting off the ground quick. Like, what were they telling you at the time? Was there something you needed to work on, or were they just like reps, keep going?
Well, back then in 01, it wasn't much feedback. It was just to be here, to see and learn. I think I actually went to a development camp a couple of years later, but it was not in New York City. That's when they start to really give you more feedback. But also you have calls as you're playing overseas with certain scouts. And I think it's at that point, as you get closer, you start thinking more and more about how do I adjust my game? Because it is a different game when you play international or overseas. It's a bigger rink, more puck management. It's not as fast going to the net. So that was a big adjustment for me when I moved to New York City and started playing NHL hockey. Smaller rink, faster, shooters are better. So those first couple of weeks was a lot of adjustments and working with my goalie coach.
What did you feel like were the things that you really improved most on early on? Like, what were certain things where you're like, oh shit, I'm getting this? Like, I mean, you have to think that way sometimes, right? Like you just start developing skills. I mean,
yeah, I think I was very confident playing in Sweden, but coming here again, changing. I was way more aggressive playing over there because I was just further out. I played deeper in my net when I came here, just so I would be in better position. So I was much better. And I would say reading the play, but also being good position. That's something that I think I improved a lot my first year here in New York.
So we can't get in every detail of the career. I mean, you had this incredible 15-year career. Were there any standout games? Was there any series? Is there anything that your head? Because I played college baseball, and my head goes back to certain games. Is there anything that your mind ever goes back to?
Well, obviously, when you retire, hockey was my life. From the age of 8, and when you retire, it's a big chapter that ends. You know, so you have time to reflect on what was good, what was not good. But when I think back on my career, the things that stand out to me is the championships in Sweden and winning the Olympics. My first year coming here, winning the World Championships with my brother after. Now playing together for 12 years.
That had to be special.
That was amazing. But then for the Rangers, the consistency throughout, my career, I take a lot of pride in that, to be a Rangers MVP 9 times.
That's incredible.
Out of my 15 years. Consistency was a big thing for me. I feel like a lot of players can have a good year or 2 years, but you want to stay up there year after year after year.
But you've also kept the train on the tracks, right? You never, obviously I didn't know you 15 years ago, but it seems like your body didn't really change much. Like you still look young, like you've taken good care of yourself. You're very athletic. You make good food choices and not good food choices. It's like you've got this really nice balance. What was it like training and preparing? Like, were there things that you did that were a little unconventional?
Yeah, and I think it changed over time as your body changed, as your recovery time changed, and you start to learn certain things will help me a lot more, certain things will not help me, actually hurt me a little bit. So when I was younger, I was a big runner, always been in the gym, but in terms of cardio, I did a lot of running between, 18 and 24. And then it started less running, and then I started picking up tennis, actually. Tennis was a big thing for me.
That was a big thing for you, right?
Summertime, because I love the movement, low gravity, and the mindset playing tennis is similar to goalie. Hand-eye, but also that one-on-one and reading the play, try to be one step ahead. It's kind of like goaltending sometimes.
Yeah, I was about to say, I never thought of it that way.
But especially the movement was great, I thought. The preparation... It's funny because you stay away from the ice for a month and a half, couple months maybe, and then when you're back on the ice, it's kind of weird in a way. You feel like, can I really do this? My body, my joints feel a little off. It hurts. But then after a couple weeks, you just feel like your body is adjusting again. And it was just a reminder, like when you train every day, your body gets so used to certain movements, but then if you have a longer break, it's almost like you need to be patient with that process of getting back to where you were. And it's a good reminder, like if you're training and then suddenly you have a longer break, you can't expect your body to feel the way it did when you were peaking, That's part of the problem is I think even in my business, people try and jump back too quickly. Or someone the other day messaged me and they're like, I just, how do I get started back? And I'm like, the problem is you remember your peak. Yeah.
But you don't remember the time it took you to get to that peak. And I just say, no matter what, just go slower than you think you need to. Like the juice isn't worth the squeeze, like take your time. And I think sometimes athletes, because they are competitive and they're like, oh, fuck this, I got to dive back into it. They push themselves a little bit too fast and too early. I mean, were there seasons that you felt like you were coming in a better place physically and mentally because maybe you did take more time off. Maybe it wasn't about training. Because we always talk about training in those rocky moments, but sometimes pulling yourself back, I think, is as difficult, if not more difficult, than continuing to do the stuff you know how to do.
Well, I think for hockey, you play 82 games, you play every other day. So the crunch time really, so really your crunch time to build up your body is summertime, off season. Once the season starts, it's hard. And my first 10 years in the league, I played close to 70 games out of the 82.
That's a lot.
And then it started to get less.
What's the average for a goalie? Is that
it's dropped now. Now you want starting goalies to play around 55 games maybe.
They're finding that they're fresher.
It's more taxing, but also I think more teams have more options in terms of goaltending, so they try to rotate more. But again, that summertime was when you were trying to rebuild your body a little bit. And during the season, a lot of times we worked out after games. If we played Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you worked out after that Tuesday game so you could recover Wednesday and then play the game on Thursday.
I think it's smart.
Yeah, you can't work out on Wednesday and then play Thursday and be sore, right?
Yeah.
You want to optimize your body for that game in 2 days. So, and it was easy to go into the gym after a win. Everybody was smiling and happy, but it was after the losses where you were just grumpy and frustrated, and you saw leg day on the board.
And you're like,
oh no, come on.
You're in there trying to dog it. You're thinking about what food am I going to get? I got a buddy of mine, Andy O'Brien. He's going to be a guest in a month. He's does a lot of the strength conditioning for Florida Panthers. And he said that a couple of years ago, he spoke to the organization about not having the team travel home when it's a specific flight that's over a certain duration, because he started noticing that their readiness of the players really began diminishing. And that's what I'm seeing a lot with these athletes now. It's like, oh, we've got more than a 3-hour flight tonight. We're staying in the hotel. We're leaving tomorrow because that flight's not going to get us until 4 or 5 in the morning. No one's going to sleep on the plane. You're going to be all thrown off because of jet lag. How much do you think that it had to play a toll on you pretty drastically? The time zone changes. You're in this grueling environment for a night in LA, and then you got to fly to wherever the hell you have to go to. I mean, were there times where you noticed that your body was beat to shit?
For sure. It's a grind. And I always say this, if you only play great when your body felt great,
you got a problem.
You would play good 50% of the time.
Yeah.
It was a lot of times it was about finding a way. Keep telling yourself you're energized, you're feeling great. But of course, there's stretches throughout a season where you just feel beat up. So again, you need to find a way. But it's changed a lot throughout my career. Okay, I came into League 05. I retired in 21. Just the amount of information that the teams use now from trainers and the numbers, the recovery, they have sleep doctors. To your point, is it worth flying back if we're on the West Coast, East Coast, or do we stay overnight and fly back tomorrow so you get a good night's sleep? The problem is sometimes when you stay overnight, guys tend to go out and have a good time, so they're not sleeping anyways.
We have tomorrow off anyway, so let's go. Yeah, no, that's where I think the battle is. No one's won that battle, right? At a certain point, you can get away with that partying early on in your career because you're young. But then later on, the thing that I've noticed, I'm going to be 48 in April.
48,
man. I'm older than you, right? So, but like the body, like, is the strength still there? Is the endurance still there? Yes. Is the recovery still there? No. It's just the body. When you get banged up, it takes you a few more days or a few more weeks to start feeling better. So you were fast forwarding now through your career. You had this incredible 15-year career. I mean, I got to go to the Garden with you one day for the Knick game. Thanks for the invite, by the way. And we rolled in, and that was an interesting experience to see you in your home. I mean, that's your spot. I mean, I refer to it like when someone asks me what's it like going with Henrik to the Garden, I'm like, I would assume it's like, maybe being on tour with Michael Jackson. Like you walked in there and the doors came open and there was just like lines of people and we're dressed up and we're walking in. We're like, how you doing? What's going on?
No, listen, I love MSG.
The best place in the world.
It really is.
It really is.
It really is. Everything that's going on there. And yeah, I played there for 15 years. Now I work there as an ambassador for the past 3-4 years. I go to games, concerts. I work TV on MSG networks. And the people that I've got to know over the years, it feels like family. And I just feel like home there. It's a big part of my I spent half my life almost in New York City now, and the Garden is the place for me. So I'm so happy that, they created this role for me. I feel like I try to give back to the organization. At the same time, I hope they benefit from having me around a little bit. But I'm just having a blast. I really enjoy being there and do a lot of different things.
How's all the post-game stuff pre-game, post-game? You're kind of doing it all now, right? I remember the first time I think my wife was with you and your wife the first time you went off to work and you packed your briefcase. And I think, what'd you have in it? You had like a comb. Mel came home and told me.
First off, I never use a comb.
I know.
My fingers
I'm listening, but you pack like an apple or something. Get a briefcase. Like, what the hell is it? Teresa's like, what the hell is this? It's cute though. It's fun, but you look
first
good.
day to school.
I know.
No, but
how was that environment? Was that nervous? Was that different? Were you like, or was it just like, hey man, I do what I do, and I'm just going to slip into this?
Media's been a big part of my career. I played for 20 years, 15 here, 5 years in Sweden. So you learn to work with media, to what it means, but it is different to sit in a studio and have opinions and analyze the team. But I have to say that first year out of retirement was strange. It was weird to watch and a little hard actually, because I felt like I wasn't done at first. I wanted to play more. But as time goes by, you kind of distance yourself from the game and you start to see all the opportunities and
positives
right? of not playing. I still miss the game, but I'm really enjoying life. It was just a big shift in my life in terms of how I prioritize the things I do and how I spend my time. Because when you're an athlete, your schedule is your
brutal.
boss. You're so locked in.
Did you find it tough in the off season? You're in this because I had friends of mine that played in the NBA and they would be traveling all over the place, and then suddenly they come home and they're like, finding that time management. They're golfing 8 days a week, and they're like, I don't know what the hell to do. Like, did you ever find that was tough? But you guys travel a bit and you guys kind of disconnect a little bit.
Yeah, we always went back to Sweden, spent a couple months there. It was time to re-energize, reconnect with friends, family back home, and traveling a little bit. But I love the summers. The season was so intense. You go back home and the contrast couldn't be any bigger. You play sports in New York City, it's so hectic, and then you go back home and maybe you go to the beach house and sit. You don't talk for too many people. You just relax and enjoy that. Your closest circle with friends and family. And but after a couple months, you start to itch. Like, I need to go back to New York City and get going again.
I find it, and no one ever compares it like this, but I built a career working with actors, right? I'm not working with really anyone anymore, but when I would see them in their environment and playing this character for 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was, they're on. Like, it's every single day, the cameras are on them, people are on them, and they have to, report and answer and perform. And then when I'd see them, we would almost kind of say re-enter. That's what we would call it, like re-enter into reality. A lot of times they just want to sit there and just breathe and like not be around people. And I think that's a really healthy thing, like getting some alone time. Did you feel like that you kind of just needed your family and just to kind of be doing your own thing?
And I touched on it earlier. I love contrast in life.
Yeah.
Like, I love the intensity of New York City, but I also love going back to Sweden, and it's quiet. And at times I'm a pretty quiet guy. I grew up north in Sweden. People talk less. People talk slower.
I'm not like me. Half the time I'm talking to you and you're like looking at me like this. I'm like, bah, 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 bah.
Yeah, no, but I guess I at times I need just that peace of collecting my thoughts, and maybe my wife wish I spoke more at times.
You got to disconnect, man.
It's a time for me to, again, re-energize and recharge. And again, that contrast, you're talking about actors, I'm sure it's very similar, where they're so locked in. And then when they get out of that, they need to not escape, but it's just a way of recharging, different focus and different priorities.
like the goal every year is to win a cup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what everyone's goal is. And so season ends, if you don't win a cup, there's that disappointment. And it's like, all right, guys, see you at training camp. It's like, that's got to be quite a shock.
It's an empty feeling.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it ends with a heartbreak, overtime, or it's so intense. It's even more intense than during the regular season, obviously. And then it's at its peak, and just like that, it's over. So for a week or so, when you walk around, it's like, yeah, it's just such an empty feeling. Winning or losing, winning a couple of championships overseas or international championships, it's such a high, but then it goes to a pretty big low until you kind of get back on your schedule or whatever you enjoy doing. But there's definitely a space there that's extremely weird.
So interesting. Pivoting a little bit right now. I mean, you were throwing a curveball, so you put out an incredible documentary that you were kind enough to invite Mel and I to, and we loved it, called Open Heart. So you were, I guess in 2020, you were diagnosed with, was it a valve issue? What was it exactly?
Yeah. So I needed a valve and aortic root replacement. So everything happened kind of quickly. I was about to move to Washington to play there, actually, after 15 years in New York. And I knew I had issues, but that fall, everything just accelerated. Everything got worse pretty quickly. So instead of going to training camp, I had to go in for open heart surgery.
What were you feeling? Was it anything specific you were feeling, or was it just, did the doctors pick up on it?
I was tired at home. But I was working out pretty hard that fall, so I thought it was just, being home recovering. But I remember going up the stairs, being, just got tired from that a lot. So there was a lot of testing going on. And then, it was a big change for me that year mentally. Try to focus more on finding that peace that we talked about earlier, but also be happy and I think it prepared me for the surgery in a way. I was very calm, which surprised me when I think back how calm I was.
Yeah, watching the documentary, and if anyone hasn't, I mean, they should watch it.
It's on Netflix, Open Heart. But the power of the mind, how good I felt, good is a maybe strange word to say leading up to the surgery, but I felt like I was in a good place. I was ready for it. And then afterwards, first couple of weeks was tough physically, maybe mentally too a little bit, but then I was in a really good place and happy and very present. I think that's the biggest thing I take away from that whole experience. Being so present during that time made me very happy. I appreciated so many things around me and as an athlete, I think you constantly think about how to improve. You think about tomorrow. You think about just happened yesterday and constantly analyze things. You miss a lot of moments along the way because you're not there 100%. But after that surgery, coming back from Cleveland Clinic, I was 100% present for a few months. And
so it forced you to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think about what's ahead, really. I thought about today. That's it.
What about rehab? What was that process like? When did that start exactly?
Was
there any rehabilitation, or was it just like it was put in and they're like, just take it slow, but you got to start walking at a certain point?
No, they want you up and walking day 2, 3.
Wow.
Well, the first day I made it to the door in my room at the hospital, and then you just increase. But they wanted you up walking as quick as possible. And after a couple of weeks, you start walking around in your apartment and they just improve. And then within, I think, 3-4 weeks, I start to feel pretty good. And I went to the gym for the first time after, I'm going to say 4 or 5 weeks. And then I was back on the ice after 7 weeks. Which was that was amazing. I didn't expect that, but it was under very controlled, no high shots. It was just light movements, but I just wanted to feel, get that touch back of the movements and
the connection with the ice, and the smell, and just being out there.
Because my goal was to come back and play.
I remember that in the documentary. I mean, I don't want to give up the documentary, but we got to talk about it a little bit. I mean, so you went through this rehabilitation process, you got back on the ice, and at that point you were like, oh, I'm coming back, right?
Yeah. I was on my way. I was on the ice for a month or so and felt really good. And then unfortunately, I had pericarditis, which is inflammation around the heart. And that was a tricky one. And that's something that I still deal with in a way. I think that's a bit been, when you talk about working out, being active, I had to change my expectations.
How so, if you don't mind?
Yeah. I mean, from the age of 5, 6, 7, maybe, I've been extremely active, playing every sport and pushing my body as much as I could. And then after I had pericarditis, if you push your body too hard, it triggers the inflammation. So first off, it led to me retiring from hockey. And then for the next 3 years, I had setbacks where I pushed a little too hard. I love tennis. So when I played too much tennis, it came back, and then you feel sick.
How long does that last for, those symptoms?
It's different. I would say 4 or 5 days. As long as you stop right away, no more activity, you stay calm. And again, when it first happened, they pretty much told me you can walk slowly. But
and you're like, what? Like, come on.
Yeah. And
like,
I just came back from open heart surgery, and I was so pumped to get back on the ice. So that was
it's
a
like
big
a tease. Like
that
they
was
put
a
you on
big
the ice.
blow.
Yeah.
But so just to set my expectations right now, for me to go to the gym today and be active for 45 minutes, sometimes just 30 minutes, that's a win. I feel great. I feel really good right now. I understand I can't be pushing myself the way I did. And it's also a weird balance where I know it's good for me to work out. At the same time, I know it's not good for me to work out too hard.
Do they have you measuring heart rate? Like, do you have to go in with a heart rate monitor and measure heart rate? Or like, what are they giving you? Or maybe they're not. Like, are their PTs telling you, Henrik, don't exceed this heart rate during training, or don't train for this much time, or don't do X, Y, and Z? Like, or are they just like, you've got to figure it out on your own? What are they?
Well, when the inflammation is there, then it's like stay under 120 in heart rate, that's kind of hard. I mean, you could go for a very light walk. But now when the inflammation is not there, there's not really any guidelines. It's almost like you have to find your own path, what works for you. Again, I've had probably 4 or 5 setbacks over the last 3.5 years. So I kind of know what I can do and what I shouldn't be doing more than listening. Everybody's unique, but recurrent pericarditis, most people that have this, they get it one time and it's gone. But if you have recurrent pericarditis, it keeps coming back.
It's like chronic. It just keeps, and it's very unpredictable. Or is it not? Is it like, well, you're dehydrated, you're lacking of rest, and it comes back quicker? Have you noticed any patterns?
The only thing I've noticed is when I play tennis, it's been coming back. So I'm trying to stay away from tennis for right now. For whatever reason, that has now
just
been
keep it to pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball. Exactly.
Unbelievable.
No, but it's. I think as an athlete too, you have to know your body. But I think that goes for anyone. You know your body and set the expectations right. If you asked me 5 years ago, like you can't do this, this, and this, I would be extremely disappointed. But now, having the right expectations of where I'm at and what I can do and can't do, I'm super happy being able to go to the gym and do light workouts and just overall feel great.
Look, none of us are getting any younger, but that doesn't mean we can't feel younger. Healthy mitochondrial function is essential for supporting overall health, including cognitive function, immunity, muscle strength and endurance, and skin vitality. About 70% of us don't have the right gut microbiome to produce it naturally, so supplementation is the only way. Enter MitoPure, a powerful science-backed ingredient created by Timeline. I use MitoPure because it helps my mitochondria. That is my power plant. That is my internal power plant that's allowing my energy level to feel optimal. So this is a supplement that I personally started taking years ago already. And this has become, a keeper in my supplement regimen. Right now, Timeline is offering 20% off your first order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/stronger. That's TIMELINE.com/stronger for 20% off. All right, now's the time of the show where we take some callers. I've got my producer, Chris, on the line. Chris, I know we got a couple questions.
Yep. All right. We have our first caller. I'm going to let him in. This is Billy from Los Angeles.
Don, good to meet you. Henrik, unbelievable, absolute pleasure.
Nice to see you.
What's going on, Billy? You got any questions for us?
Yeah, I do. So, Hank, my fiance is a physical therapist, right? And we're watching Open Heart, and she gasped. I literally gasped at your recovery. The speed at which you bounced out of the hospital, showboating on the ice after a few weeks. And obviously, it speaks to your physical toughness. But I wanted to ask about your emotional toughness. Coming to the realization retirement was imminent. I was hoping you could speak to that emotionally, and how did you deal with that realization?
Yeah, it was emotional at times, but you have to dig deep. And I think as an athlete, it happens to all of us. At some point, you're going to have to retire, right? The question is when and how. And very few get to end it on their own terms. A lot of times it's an injury or you don't get re-signed or whatever it might be. But for me, I think the turning point was just I felt so much gratitude. Instead of look forward, it's like, okay, this is not going to play out the way it was supposed to be. I turned around and looked at everything that I experienced. I got to play the game that I always wanted to play. I turned pro. I part of the Rangers for so long and played for Team Sweden. I just felt so much gratitude. And that put me in a place of this peaceful, I always bring that word up. I was in peace with it. I was so grateful for everything I experienced instead of try to want more because that was what I was building up in my vision of how things were going to end. And then pretty quickly, again, I turned around and felt so much gratitude. And that really helped me move forward. And when it's in the doc too, I had that practice that summer. I still wanted to do it. And I realized after that practice that I felt the pain in my chest. It's over. It really is over. And I just felt like this. At that point, I've been fighting it for maybe 9 months, through the surgery, through the setbacks with pericarditis. It was just, it's time to let go. And it's different for every athlete. I think it's something that you should not underestimate, the fact that it's a huge chapter of your life that's going to change. But I worked a lot on myself mentally, and I just, again, felt a lot of peace.
Yeah, but Billy, what I think is interesting about what Henrik's saying here is his even though he didn't come back and he decided to retire because of specific setbacks, initially your recovery, Billy, you said it was your wife or your girlfriend?
My fiance, actually.
Your fiance, congratulations, by the way. I think because you were in a good mindset when making that comeback. And I think that's something that it's very tough to do, right? Like you've had surgery, you've had an injury, you're out for a while. There's that level of uncertainty. And I think people get their mind into this downward spiral of like, oh my God. You kept using a word with me during our interview earlier, and hopefully you'll listen to this, but it was, you were present.
Yep.
And I think that's important. I think that kind of relaxes you a bit. And I know, and your fiance knows better than anyone, this is what she does. But when your mind's in a good place, the body's going to follow a lot better than if you're just constantly throwing negativity on the fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great question, by the way. When's the big day?
September 20th, Santa Anita Park in Arcadia. If you guys aren't busy, stop by.
That's 4 days after my anniversary. Great month. Congratulations on everything. Great question, brother. Thank you again for coming on.
All right. Thank you so much. And Hank, let's go Rangers, buddy. Thanks so much for all the things.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, next is Rob and Don. I think Rob used to work with you.
Rob, here we go. This is my guy, by the way, I was telling you about.
Hey.
What's up, Rob? How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Rob, I know you have no questions for me, but why don't you fire off to Henrik, and then I'm going to embarrass you after that for a minute. So go right ahead.
Okay, fine. Perfect. Hi, Henrik. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. First off, I just want to say, obviously, huge fan. What's it called? I got into hockey back in 2012. So you're pretty much the reason that I'm into the one sport that I actually follow, and the Rangers being my team. So, thank you so much for all of that. I'm just cannot be more grateful for, your career and the things the entertainment you provided me. So thank you. I was even at your, number retirement ceremony where I saw you get that awesome guitar, and knowing that you are a fellow musician, my question to you would be, how does music factor in, if it factors in at all, with your training? And if you could only have 3 artists, I guess specifically for training, like if you're training, if you could only have 3 artists, you got to keep 3, who would they be?
Oh, boy. Well, I grew up, 80s, early 90s. My bigger sister was a huge Guns N' Roses fan, so there was a lot of Guns N' Roses growing up. But for training, I think Foo Fighters is great for me when I train.
That's your favorite group. That's Rob's favorite group of all time.
Foo Fighters, Oasis, those are probably my top 2.
Yeah, and it's good. If I'm not working out, I'm more of a chill guy. I like things calm, but working out, I love a lot of drums, a lot of guitars.
You're a Zeppelin fan, right?
I listen to it, but I wouldn't put it up in the top 3.
Wow.
Am I disappointing you right now? Get out.
This is a hot debate. Hot topic here.
Yeah. What else? I'm curious.
Well, working out. I love AC/DC, the live album from is it Buenos Aires?
Yeah, I know.
You hear the crowd and a lot of guitar again. It's great when we're in the gym and you just want to want to go,
Yeah.
So we have that.
No surprises. We have, I know me and Don have talked about this before, and Don will throw Bandana in there. I'll throw ABBA. Like, do you have any of those? Any surprise ones?
Are we still talking while working out?
Sure.
Why not? Why not?
Whatever.
Actually, one guy I listen to a lot right now is Teddy Swims.
Yeah.
Who's Teddy Swims? I don't know this. How do I not know this?
Well, if you hear his song, you must recognize.
Okay.
He has a bunch of new songs, but his voice is the beat. It's a little upbeat at times, but still kind of smooth. Great voice. So he will be my surprise for the workout session.
Great.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Now, hold on. I've got one question. Now, because Henrik's a friend, I can embarrass him a little bit, which I'm going to do.
So, Rob, who's the greatest Ranger ever and why?
Oh, I personally, I believe it would be Henrik Lundqvist.
All right,
if I had to say.
can you break down why?
Personally,
all right, but like,
if you wanted my
yeah,
my take
I want
on
you
it.
to I want you to defend that. Say I'm arguing it right now. Why is he the greatest Ranger ever?
Okay. Well, I would say it's Henrik because just for, first of all, what you've done for the team is just incredible. And I'm not just talking about on the ice. On the ice, look,
Give me some stats. Give me some stats. Yeah, come on. Give me some stats.
I would say I've looked at all the stats and the metrics, and let's be real. When it comes to domination in your career, it's not even close. When you look at the consistency of your career, it's incredible. And it just shows it's such a perseverance and such a competitiveness that I think goes beyond almost any other athlete that I've seen, and definitely in New York. And then on top of that, it's just what you've done for the team, what you've done for the sport, and just, the city itself. Come on, like, you're the king of New York. What else could you say? Whether you like the title or you're not.
Right now.
I know, even if you want to stay humble, it's true, and I think you approach it with such a graciousness, and such a flair. And you bring such a good charismatic energy to, whether you're when you were on the ice, or whether it's, behind the booth, or when you're talking on ESPN or any other network, or wherever you are. I think you just are a great representative to the team. And on top of that, again, I just loved watching you every night. And not only that, didn't matter what the team was. It didn't matter what team was in front of you, as long as you were on the ice, I was like, it's okay. We can always win this. Henrik's in it.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
Thank you for embarrassing him. That was perfect, Rob. You're the best. Love you, buddy.
You're very welcome.
See you.
Thank you so
Love you too.
much. Nice to
See you
meet
guys.
you.
I had to throw you under the heat a little bit. Sorry, it's not going to be that easy today. So putting aside your family and hockey, I feel like your third love is music. I mean, that's like, to me, like that's, I think, where you and I kind of connected a bit, because we would go away and everyone wanted to do their own thing, and you start playing the guitar, and then I think I could sing, so I'll turn around, I'll start singing, and my son's singing.
Yeah.
We're just, it's the next thing you know, 3 hours you're sitting there and you're picking up. I'm like, oh my God, you know that song? You're like, yeah. I'm like, I love that song. And the next thing you know, there's a connection you have with people with music. It's like, to me, it's like a foreign language. Like if you know how to play an instrument or you know how to do something musically, to me, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I wish I can do that. How did that start for you?
Started as a kid. Actually, my brother played the bass. I played the guitar. My sister played the drums.
Oh, no
so
way.
We had a little band
You had
at
a little
home.
band. Do you guys still rock out at all?
No, it's been years.
Do they still play?
No, my sister plays a little bit.
But you play a lot.
Not a lot. It goes in waves. You have weeks where you play a lot, and then I can go 5 months without playing. I'm not very good, but it was still something that took my mind off of hockey. I still have to focus when I play, but it's a different type of focus. It's almost like watching a really good movie. Your mind is there 100%, and it makes you relax. It makes you take your energy off of the stress and pressure you feel from performing, maybe, to then just sit there and play. And I'm the guy that brings out the guitar for after parties. That's where you come in.
Yeah.
I'm not
And then half the people
I'm not
are
a
into it.
musician. I'm like the guy that can play a few songs, but again, it's just it brings a lot of. It's almost like meditation in a way, because my mind goes to a place where it's very relaxing, and you can spend hours.
Who gave you the guitar when you retired? I never asked you that. I saw you with a guitar that someone like. It was like a tribute.
Yeah, so John McEnroe came out with it's a Swedish brand, Hagström. It's an electric guitar. And the guy that painted all my goalie masks for over 20 years, he painted that guitar with a Rangers theme. So that night at the Garden, he came out with...
How emotional was that, by the way?
That night was incredible. I'll never forget it,
I watched
ever.
It was incredible.
It was closure. In a way,
yeah.
Something was about this. I have a friend back home. He's a big musician. He said it's almost like you attend your wedding and funeral at the same time.
It's interesting.
It's a big celebration, but then at the same time, it's you're moving on. But just to be able to share that moment with all my friends and family, but also, I talked a lot about this in the documentary, but an opportunity to thank so many people within the Rangers organization. And obviously it's such an honor to have your name and number hanging in Madison Square Garden. So I'll never forget that day.
It is special to see. I mean, there's been a few athletes that I think, as someone that loves sports, New Yorkers love. Like you're one of them. Derek Jeter, David Wright. There's just certain guys that have been with an organization for the life of the organization. And I think their number then gets retired. And that's why it was special for me to kind of go with you to the Garden and see it post your career, because I saw the level of respect that people gave you. And even going to a basketball game, we're watching basketball, and to see everyone in the Garden, it didn't matter. They were like, oh, Henrik's here. This is someone that's given us joy for 15 years. I mean, that has got to be, for someone who doesn't live in New York, I don't think most people would understand. It's like Frank used to say it, like if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere type. No, but it's true. That's New York for you.
It is amazing to feel that support and appreciation, obviously. And it's almost like I appreciate it even more now. When you're in it, you're just go, 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 go. To me now, I was walking down the street yesterday. It was such a beautiful day out. So I normally don't walk a lot here. I usually drive a lot, but I walked. And there were a bunch of people stopping me on the way. Just, we miss you. Thank you for everything. And New Yorkers are the best that way.
Yeah.
they're not overdoing it. They just
No.
want to let you know, and
Natural.
then they move on.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so happy. And since I retired, I've been so appreciative of my career and the experience I had. But even so, the last few years, to feel that people still appreciate what I did for the organization. So it's a good place to be.
So now your foundation. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, moving to New York City back in 2005, I learned a lot through Garden of Dreams Foundation, which is the foundation of Madison Square Garden. I served as a spokesperson for that organization for many years. And then 10 years ago, I wanted to create my own foundation as well, to work with different organizations, both here in New York, but also back home in Sweden. So we focus on education and health for children, but also support their families. Because a lot of times when you work with, especially sick children, it affects the entire family, right? But so the different organizations we work with here in New York City is a Presbyterian Children's Hospital. We also work with Food Bank, and then I'm serving as ambassador for Ronald McDonald House.
I love that, by the way. I go up there. I'm up there once a year supporting them, and that's a great foundation.
So I've been working with them in Sweden for many years,
Oh,
and
wow.
now I start to overlap a little bit here in New York City as well. And then we run our own program called Young Ambassador Program, where we inspire kids to give back. So kids between 14 and 18 can apply to this program in this tri-state area, and you do a 1-year program. You report to us. We give them help along the way, guidelines. But really what it's about is for them to see the impact of giving back in their community. And
That's
then we
strong.
have a scholarship connected to the program.
That's amazing. So if anyone wants to hear about that, how do they go about?
Go to henriklundqvist.com.
Right.
We actually just started the new class of 25. So they will go this year now and put in the hours, and they will help us with different events. They'll work with our partners. They also create their own fundraisers, and then they will report back to us. And we usually finish the year with a huge presentation where I sit and we talk and give feedback.
That's
so
incredible.
I love it.
Well, I know for a fact you got a lot of great stuff ahead of you. I mean, you had an incredible hockey career. We all know that, but great things are going to happen for you and your family in the future. I can't thank you enough for coming on, because I know life, family, and I know you get pulled in a million different directions, and you've turned into a good friend, even though we're not on top of each other every second. I feel like every time we see each other, it's always like a hug.
It
And
really is.
we pick up where we left off. I also want to thank the Post, right? Christian Ponder and the Post has hosted us here, and this has really turned into like my new home in the city now that I'm out of Drive permanently. But Hank, thanks again. I'm looking forward to all the great stuff you have in the future.
Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
The views, information, or opinions expressed in the series are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Chip and Joanna Gaines, Binel Audio, nor Magnolia.